This is a 69 News special report.
I know our time is running down with you, so I want to give everybody a chance to ask rapid fire questions real quick to you, and you give us, your answer as much as fast as you can. Or I don't want to, I know you got other things to do. Here's my first one. How do you feel about so-called celebrities meeting with Donald Trump, and would you meet with Donald Trump?
Yes, if Donald Trump would have called me up and say, "Hey, I want to sit down with you. I understand that you're a psychologist and an educator and an organizer in your community. I'd like to hear what you have to say on education and mental health and economic revitalization and systematic racism," I would sit down with him. Why? Because since the beginning of time, people who are in a hunt to acquire power and improve their condition have always met with the representatives of the system that denies them that power. It would be insane for us not to meet with Donald Trump, because you need to be able to say, we made it very clear what we needed to do, and you did not do it. Does it mean he's going to do it? Absolutely not. But you need to be able to tell the world that we made it clear in no uncertain terms what we needed to be done for us. So that way it can never be said, I wanted to help black folks, but none of them would meet with us. So I didn't have a problem with any of them meeting with Donald Trump. My issue was who he chose to meet with. Only in the black community are celebrities our spokespersons. In no other community do they go to celebrities to find out what's going on with members of that community. You don't go to Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey is a multi-millionaire. He don't live in the ghetto. Ray Lewis is a multi-millionaire. He don't live in the ghetto. They use Ray Lewis to be an apologist for the murder of Freddie Gray in Baltimore. What would you meet with him for? Wow. Jim Brown, I had no problem with Jim Brown meeting with Donald Trump, because at this late age of his life, he has always been a stand-up black man who has always been unapologetic. So I'm very confident that Jim Brown could not be used by Donald Trump or anyone else to be an apologist for racism. But with meeting with people like Steve Harvey and Ray Lewis, that just tells me that was more about theater than it was about doing anything significant for black folks.
Wow. Big dog.
Yeah, if you were president, what policies would you put in place, or I guess what policies would you put in place to try to help empower black people? And also, what do you think it's going to take to change the mindset of our own people so we can take that next step forward?
Second question first. I don't have a lot of faith in the current population of black folk in America. I think the 21st century American African is the worst one we've produced on this soil. When you look at the 17th century black man and woman during slavery, you look at the 18th century black man and woman, you look at the 19th century black man and woman. And by the way, the 19th century black man and woman was the most progressive black man and woman we've had on earth since the fall of the great dynasties in Nile Valley, Africa. That 1801 to 1899, that Frederick Douglass, that Harriet Tubman, that Shaka Zulu, that Marcus Garvey, that generation right there, that 100-year period, that century was the greatest we had. And I think we need to study that century, because that's when we got so many of our great minds. But I think we have to focus on the children. I think one of the dysfunctional adaptations that we have created for ourselves is we spend too much time trying to change the thinking of adults. People do not change. The human personality is largely wired by the age of 5, relatively permanent by the age of 12, and ain't likely to change after the age of 25. So why don't we focus on the children and make them what they need to be, as opposed to trying to change these adults? Frederick Douglass said it's better to raise strong boys than to repair broken men. It's better to raise strong boys than to repair broken men. The 3 things I would do if I was president: number 1, black people would have community control of their schools. If they're not approving of the principals or the teachers, they can fire them and replace them. Number 2, all of the taxes that black people make, at least 25% of the black tax base in this country, would be used to build credit unions and banks in every black community. Also, there would be a black bank staffed by black doctors that is overseen by a black medical supervisor in every major city, because hospitals are becoming a dying breed in the black community in many cities. And you guys are in Chicago, you know that you sometimes have to drive 10, 20 minutes to get to the hospital. So they are taking the hospitals out of the black community to facilitate population control. And then I would also see to it that every white Jesus in America is burned. And the last thing that I would do, any black man who is not married to a black woman would have to pay a tax for marrying outside of his race or for not being married to a black woman at all.
Oh my gosh! Well,
But look, I want to say this though. I think this generation has learned how to get money, but what they do with the money after they get it is the problem.
oh, Doc, we need you back on, man. I know you're busy, but we need another show with you, brother. Joe Dirt, go ahead, man.
No, go ahead, Rose.
Dr. Umar, I would be remiss if I didn't say that your popularity precedes you. And although you may have sidestepped a couple landmines, this social media monster has been very attacking. How would you say that you deal with the popularity and the weight of being the figure that you have been, being a psychologist, being trained, and also being a black man standing up for your race, although you're not perfect? I'm sorry?
I would say that the people have been my sustaining secret source of energy. Whenever I get down, and it is hard out here dealing with black folks trying to destroy you every corner you turn, white folks trying to manipulate your failure. But when you get texts and you get emails and you have elders come up to you at your lectures, I was in Newark yesterday and Atlantic City Friday, and just give you a big hug and encourage you to just keep on going. We're behind you. When you get emails saying you changed my life, you saved my life, you helped me save my child, you got to keep going, because if you inspired me, I know you inspired many more. That's the type of stuff that keeps me going, man, because if there was another Umar Johnson, if there was someone else who had that expertise and that commitment when it comes to the miseducation machine, I would have probably bowed out, because, I could use a break from it all. I'm not really one for the camera and the lights and the action. I didn't know that my opinions were considered to be so revolutionary, left or right of center, that it required all of that additional attention, man. But I could give it up. And to be honest, that's probably the one thing people don't know about me the most, that I could walk away from it today or tomorrow. But my obligation and my love for my people commands that I stay there.
That was Dr. Umar Johnson once again coming on Inside the Cave. Doctor, I really appreciate it. One more time, tell everybody where you're going to be at in Chicago and Indianapolis on this coming weekend.
Definitely. Dr. Umar Johnson will be in Chicago this Saturday, February the 25th, at the Greater New Mount Moriah Baptist Church at 3101 East Warren. That's 3101 East Warren in the East Garfield section of Chicago. Doors open up at 2. Program will be from 4 until 7, and I will sign books and take pictures from 7 until 9. And then 48 hours later, we will be in Indianapolis, Indiana for the first time in 2 years at the Jewel Event Center, JEWEL, the Black-owned Jewel Event Center in Indianapolis, Indiana, on Monday, February the 27th. Doors open up at 4. Program will be from 6 until 9, and I'll sign books from 9 until 11. And we still have a couple of vendor spots and opening act spots. So if anyone has a talent and would like to showcase it to the community, or if you have some products you would like to sell, you can reach me at drumarjohnson.com, drumarjohnson@yahoo.com, or you can text me at 215-989-9858. Looking forward to coming back to the Midwest and wrapping up 2017 Black History Month tour.
And one more time, you said if any black man is with a white woman, what's going to happen?
He's going to have to pay a tax for marrying outside of his race.
Who said that? Who said that? Doctor, before I let you go, that started out as a joke on this show, that we got a talented guy that knows how to make fake Donald Trump tweets. And that was a tweet that we put out as a spoof from Donald Trump. Who would have thought that you kind of agree with our thinking over here?
Wow. I mean, we got to remember something, fellas. All behavior is a consequence of context and consequences. And one of the biggest reasons why we can't get black folks on the same page, because you can't give out no consequences. Who listens to people who cannot give out consequences if they fail to do what they need them to do? Until the black community is able to give out consequences and rewards, it works both ways. Consequences for doing what you're not supposed to do, and then we have to honor and reward those who do what we need them to do. Until we come up with a contingency system on both sides of the scale, it's going to be difficult to get black folks to stand in line.
Appreciate you always coming on, and I got to tell you, man, I'm already thinking about part 3. So
no doubt, anytime.
Okay.
Anytime. That's no problem.
This is a 69 News special report.